You know, when it comes to the world of high-stakes trading, there's this wild paradox right at the heart of what it takes to actually succeed. And it's all captured in the title of Tom Hougaard's book, Best Loser Wins. Understanding it, well, it starts with one really brutal question.
Why? Why do so many people who get into trading, with all the passion and excitement in the world, end up failing? It's the question that really just haunts the entire industry, mostly because the answer is not at all what you'd expect.
All right, let's just jump right in. There's a puzzle for you. In financial trading, you have some of the smartest, most motivated people on the planet. They've got the best tools, instant information. So why do most of them fail? It's this huge paradox, and the answer has almost nothing to do with economics and everything to do with psychology.
And I'm not exaggerating. The number is somewhere around 90%. About 9 out of 10 people who get into retail trading consistently lose money. I mean, just think about that for a second. Can you imagine any other field where people try so hard and a 90% failure rate is just normal? It's wild.
Just look at that number for a second. 90%. That's staggering. We're not talking about a little bit of bad luck here. A number that high points to a massive, fundamental misunderstanding of what it even takes to win in the first place. And this is where author and high-stakes trader Tom Hougaard comes in. He basically argues that almost everyone, 99% of traders, are looking for answers in all the wrong places. They're digging through complex charts, looking for secret strategies, but the real secret, it's just not there.
And we're not talking about people who are just guessing. No. They've got degrees, they've read all the must-read books, their screens are loaded up with sophisticated charts. Every indicator you can think of, they're all using the exact same playbook.
Which leads us to the big question, right? If everyone has the same map and the same tools, what's the deal? What separates that tiny group of winners from, well, everybody else? Finding the answer to that is what this is all about.
This failure problem isn't just some abstract idea. It's a really familiar story. In fact, it starts with the author himself. Tom Hougaard, a guy with 2 degrees in finance, a job at JP Morgan, even he was completely trapped in this exact same failure cycle.
You see, the whole problem starts with people chasing the wrong thing. And the story of Tom Hougaard, a really high-stakes trader, is the perfect example. He did everything you're supposed to do to succeed, and it led him right off a cliff.
I mean, look at this resume. Degrees in economics and finance? Check. A job at JP Morgan Chase? Check. This guy was set up for success. But then, when he started trading his own money, he went broke in 18 months. Later, working as an analyst, he makes a brilliant market call that turns out to be right, and he gets fired for it because it wasn't popular. His so-called path to success was actually a roadmap to ruin.
And this quote just nails his huge realization. After all that failure, it finally clicked. The secret wasn't hiding in another textbook or some magic indicator or a more complicated strategy. The answer wasn't out there at all.
And this is the disconnect. Most people think trading is about finding an external edge, some secret pattern on a chart. But the real game, the actual battlefield, is inside your own head. It's a fight against your own fear, your own hope, your ego, and how you deal with the pain of being wrong.
So his journey began right where most traders do, chasing secrets. He was on this frantic hunt for some kind of holy grail system that he thought would just unlock the markets for him. I mean, he went deep down the rabbit hole. He studied every complex indicator he could get his hands on. Fibonacci, Keltner channels, Bollinger Bands, you name it. He followed guru after guru. He was desperately searching for an edge in the charts. But this path, it just led to more and more frustration. And the emotional cost was just immense. You can imagine the constant stress, the financial pressure. It all took a massive toll. For him, this wasn't just some game he was playing. It was deeply, deeply painful. And the result of all that work, all that searching, despite his degrees, despite his job at a top bank, he was completely wiped out. In just 18 months, all that technical knowledge was basically worthless without the one thing that actually mattered.
So, this huge insight led Tom Hougaard to his core philosophy, a totally counterintuitive idea that completely flips our whole concept of what it means to win.
Just let that hang in the air for a second. The best loser wins. It sounds totally nuts, right? How could being a great loser make you a winner? But this one paradoxical sentence became the absolute bedrock of his success. So what on earth does it mean to be a best loser? Well, it's not that you enjoy losing. It means you've become a master of the act of taking a loss. You see a trade going against you and you cut it immediately. No anxiety, no getting your ego tangled up in it, and absolutely no feeling of, I'm going to get my money back from the market. It's not about knowing the market better. It's about knowing yourself better.
So what changed? This is where we get to the core idea. The best loser wins. After hitting rock bottom, he had this huge realization. The secret he was looking for wasn't in the market at all. It was inside himself. You know, it was the absolute last place he ever thought to look. After all those years chasing charts and systems, he finally understood the one simple truth that separates the tiny percentage of winners from everybody else. And this is it. This is the secret. It sounds completely backward, I know, but it is the foundation of all real trading success. The goal isn't to be the best winner. The goal is to be the best loser. Okay, so what on earth does it mean to be a best loser? It's not about losing all the time. Not at all. It's about mastering the act of losing. It means you can take a small, planned loss and feel nothing. No anxiety, no need to get revenge on the market. It just frees up your mind to immediately start looking for the next, better opportunity with total clarity.
And here's the kicker. To become a best loser, you literally have to go to war with your own human nature. The instincts that keep you safe and help you succeed in day-to-day life, they will absolutely destroy you in the markets. Okay, think about this perfect analogy. You walk into a supermarket and your favorite coffee is 50% off. Your brain lights up. It screams, bargain, stock up. We're wired to love a discount. But in the market, that same instinct is a deadly trap. A stock is down 50% and our brain goes, ooh, it's cheap. But what we're really doing is buying something that everyone else is desperately trying to sell. That bargain hunting instinct is poison for a portfolio. And this isn't just a theory. Look at this. This is real data. As the Wall Street index was ripping to all-time highs, more than 71% of retail traders were shorting it. They were betting it would crash. They were actively fighting the trend because their supermarket brain was telling them, this is too expensive. It has to come down. It reminds me of this fantastic story about another trader, Dr. David Paul. He had this super sophisticated software, all his expert buddies, and they were all convinced the market was about to shoot to the moon. But day after day, it just kept falling. Then his wife, who knows zero about trading, walks in, looks at the screen, and just says that. She just saw the obvious. And for him, that was the lightning bolt. He wasn't trading what was actually happening on the screen. He was trading what he thought should be happening. His opinion, his ego, his expensive software, all of it was blinding him to the simple truth that his wife saw in 5 seconds. So it all comes down to this really critical mental flip. A losing trader feels hope when a trade goes bad. They hope it'll come back. And they feel fear when a trade is winning, fear that it'll disappear, so they sell way too early. A winning trader inverts that. They feel fear when a trade is losing, so they cut it instantly. And they feel hope on a winner, letting it run as far as it can go. So, how do you even start to make this shift? Well, you add money to your winners, never your losers. You have to deeply, truly accept that the market does not care one bit about your opinion. You throw out the whole idea of cheap and expensive. And maybe, most importantly, you trade what you actually see on the chart, not the story you're telling yourself in your head.
Now, the reason this is so incredibly difficult is because it forces you to fight against your own basic human instincts. Everything that makes you a smart, rational person in everyday life works against you in the market. Think about it like this. Hougaard calls it supermarket logic. When you're in a supermarket and something you want is suddenly 50% off, what do? You load up your cart. It's a bargain. We are literally wired to buy low. But in the markets, if a stock you own drops 50%, that is not a discount. That's a 5-alarm fire. Applying that supermarket logic, buying more of a falling stock, is an absolute recipe for disaster.
There's this fantastic story in the book about a successful engineer, Dr. David Paul, who was losing a fortune on a trade. His software, his PhD friends, his ego, everything told him the market should go up. But his wife, who knew nothing about trading, just looked at his screen and said with perfect, simple clarity, "All I see is that this market is going down right now, isn't it?" She saw what was, not what should be.
And this reveals a complete psychological flip that has to happen. For amateurs, when a trade is winning, their fear goes up, the fear of losing those profits, so they sell way too early. But in a losing trade, their hope goes up, hope that it will turn around, so they let their losses grow and grow. Professionals do the exact opposite. They fear big losses, so they cut them fast, but they have hope in their winners, so they let them run.
And this isn't just some theory. You can see it in the data. It's wild. While the S&P 500 was ripping higher, hitting all-time highs, a staggering 71% of retail traders were betting against it. They were shorting the market. They were trying to sell what they thought was expensive in a powerful uptrend, a perfect classic case of that flawed supermarket logic.
And all of this leads to a pretty profound conclusion. You are not playing against the market. That's not the game. The market is just the field. The real opponent is you.
The technology will change, the algorithms will get faster, the news will be different. But the player, the human being, with all their built-in biases, their hopes, their fears, that part doesn't change. Mastering that internal game is the only thing that's constant.
So how do you practice this stuff? Hougaard suggests an exercise like this one. You commit to taking the next 20 trades your system generates. Period. No hesitation, no second guessing. And here's the key. The goal is not to make a profit. The goal is to practice flawless execution. It's a mental workout. You're training your brain to act without that emotional baggage, to break that destructive cycle of fear and hope.
And this idea, it's so much bigger than just trading. It's about greatness in any field. Think about Kobe Bryant. He missed more shots than anyone else in NBA history. But he wasn't great despite that. He was great because of it. He was willing to take the shot and risk failure every single time because he knew that's what it took to win.
And that, right there, is the bottom line. It's not about trying to avoid failure. It's about your relationship with failure. Is a small loss a personal attack on your intelligence, or is it just the cost of doing business, a normal part of the process? How you answer that question will define everything. The best loser wins because they've made peace with being wrong.
So I want to leave you with this thought. Take this idea out of the market and apply it to your own life. In your career, in your personal projects, what are you so afraid of losing that it's actually stopping you from winning? What small failures do you need to get comfortable with to make room for your biggest successes?
Okay, so how do you actually do this? How do you make this shift? The book lays out a really clear path for winning this inner game. The whole path starts with one crucial first step, accepting that you are the problem. Not the market, not your strategy, you. From there, you start to meticulously analyze your own trades to find your personal self-sabotaging patterns. You create what Hougaard calls a book of truths. And finally, you use that book to train your mind every single day, just like an elite athlete preparing for the big game. This book of truths is so powerful because it forces you to confront your bad habits in black and white. You can't hide from them anymore. Maybe you'll see a pattern, like, my biggest losses always come from fighting strong trends, or I get impatient and jump into trades without a plan, or I always revenge trade after a big loss. Once you see the pattern, you can finally start to break it. You stop guessing what's wrong because now you know. This quote from Dr. David Paul just perfectly captures the whole shift. He realized his trading wasn't really about making money. It was about proving he was right. It was about his ego. But real winning isn't about ego. It's about being really, really good at accepting when you're wrong and being the best loser in the room. So ultimately, it really just boils down to this one question that you have to ask yourself. Are you fighting the market, or are you fighting yourself? Because for that 90% of people, the real battle isn't happening on the screen. It's happening inside their own head. And that's where the real work and the real profits are waiting to be found.